Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Dean Rogers. Welcome back to the Dean Rogers Show. Today, we've got another special guest, Mr. Brandon Bateman. What's up, Brandon?
Hey, how you doing, Dean?
I'm good, man. I'm excited to have you on today because you are Mr. PPC, pay per click, running advertising for people online, how to get quality, motivated leads. You also do SEO, search engine optimization, to make sure your website's ranking highly when people search for you. And let's see what else. So you've generated more than 50 million in wholesale fees for clients in the past 12 months. That's pretty crazy. So you're working with real estate investors. You're actively working with 150 plus investors right now. And you own the company Bateman Collective. So tell me, Brandon, what is Bateman Collective? How'd you start it? How'd you even get into this space, in this world? Where do we, what's your origin story?
Yeah. Well. First off, I need to hire you to follow me around and say good things about me because you're pretty good at that. I love the highlight reel. People are gonna be disappointed when we get deeper into the
And
content.
before I forget, if people are listening and you want to follow Brandon, see what he's up to, you can go to Brandon Bateman Photo, which is another thing I wanted to uncover. The photo. Are you Mr. Photographer?
I used to be. That's the funny thing. I used an Instagram account like forever ago. If you look on there, you see most of that stuff is from like when I was in high school, like photos and stuff like that. However, we did start posting content on Bateman Collective as an Instagram account like 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
Organic seems to be going pretty well so far. So, I mean, either one, you can find my personal that I'll probably transform at some point and start putting some business stuff on. Right now, it just kind of sits there. But yeah, definitely find me there or Brandon Bateman on Facebook. Go to our website, Bateman Collective, wherever you like to find people. But to answer your first question about how I got here, I started in the digital marketing space, not in the real estate space, which is kind of backwards for most people in this industry. It seems like most tech companies and softwares and services and all that stuff in this industry start by some real estate investor who had a problem, and then they decide to solve that problem for other people too. Versus for me, it was a little bit backwards. So I started as a digital marketer. And my third client that I ever took on in the digital marketing space was Cody Hoffine. I think Cody. He's a part of Family Mastermind,
Yeah.
where we just ran into each other.
And last week.
Yeah, and some people know him as the co-founder of Wholesaling Inc., which coaching company that helped a lot of starting up real estate investors. More so before, but they still in business now. But anyways, so I didn't know who he was at the time or anything. He just became a client of ours, and I didn't hear a thing from him for 2 years. I just managed ads, and I had other companies, like we did a lot of technology and e-commerce and that type of thing. Then 2 years later, Cody gives me a call and he says, I don't know if you know this, but digital marketing as a whole has become our highest single revenue channel in our business. It's become the lowest cost per deal, the highest average spread, the highest return on investment, the least leads per deal, thus the least acquisitions resources. All that stuff became true about digital marketing. So he said, why don't you come speak at my event and tell people how you did it? And he basically just said, digital marketing is the secret to my business, and my secret to digital marketing is that you hire Brandon. And thus everybody who was there hired me, and they refer their friends. And so one day I look back at my business, and we had like these software and tech companies, and then we had these real estate investors, such different niches. And I realized I really liked half my business and I didn't like the other half quite as much. So I decided to double down just in real estate. Shortly thereafter, I met Steve Trang and was on his podcast. So that's kind of what blew up my business. We over doubled in a single quarter, and I never looked back, and have just been doing 100% real estate investing marketing since. And absolutely love the industry, and super glad that I kind of fell backwards into this weird path and weird place to be. But I love what I do now.
Are you saying real estate investors are easier to work with than anyone else?
The answer is so I like working with entrepreneurs. I guess that would be like my number one thing. When I worked with all these other companies before, we would often work with marketing directors and and heads of paid media at companies. And I was
Right.
working with companies spending millions of dollars a month on PPC sometimes, where they'd have tons of staff associated with that. And it's I like working with entrepreneurs because I love people who are driven and who are doing awesome things. I love feeling like we're making an impact, not just like helping someone hopefully not get fired. It's a different, it's a
Totally
different
different
thing.
feel.
But
Yeah.
but the other thing is, it felt like, everybody says, you don't want to have that corporate lifestyle. You want to be more of this small business lifestyle. Turns out being an agency working with corporate companies kind of feels like that corporate lifestyle. Every company we work with is red tape. When we work with real estate investors, it's a different game completely. There's we're kind of free to do whatever we think is going to be best for them. And I love that freedom. But the downside is a lot of real estate investors don't quite get marketing, like some of the people who are specific marketing specialists that were hired to work with agencies like us at other companies. So that's where, that's the downside of working with real estate investors, is there's a lot more education to do there, and we have more misunderstandings around different things and that sort of thing. So there's pluses and minuses, but at the end of the day, I love working with entrepreneurs that are hustling and helping them be successful, as long as they're willing to follow our advice. That's the criteria.
Yeah. No, you made me think of a couple of great things there. So, working with entrepreneurs, they're able to make usually quicker decisions. For you, that means a much different sales cycle. Like, you're not going through the red tape of corporate and all these decisions that have to get made and approved and get the funds approved and all that kind of stuff. And the probably the changes, the oversight is totally different experience and feel. Whereas, entrepreneur, it's like, hey, I could collect payment today. We could get started today, and start rolling this thing out, getting the wheels churning. We can get a lot more into the weeds around the strategy and test things out, like you said. So, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So you made me think, why don't you share exactly what you're doing? What are the exact strategies that you're doing to generate leads online? And then we can kind of dive into what those are and uncover those for people so that they truly understand what it is as they're listening. And then we can kind of dive into more questions from there.
Yeah, let's start by just kind of showing the umbrella that kind of covers everything that we do, and it could be summarized by 3 channels. That we pretty much everything we do falls in one of these 3 channels. The first one is going to be paid search, which is a lot of people call it PPC because it's pay-per-click advertising. This is going to be on Google or sometimes Microsoft networks, and it's basically if someone goes onto Google and they search for different things. It's the art of efficiently being the person who shows up in a paid way, or basically you're paying Google to be there. The next one would be organic search.
Just real quick to pause on that one. So what that looks like, just to put it simple, someone goes to type in, they want to sell their house online. You're saying if you have advertisement going, you have ads running, then your ads are going to show up towards the top when people are searching to sell their house.
Yes, exactly. And the reason it's called pay-per-click advertising is because if someone clicks on your ad, that's when you pay Google. So there's this whole science of, what do you want to show up on, and how much do you want to be willing to pay for those things, and how do you optimize that over time, and what should your budget be, and like all that stuff is kind of what we manage there. But the reason people love PPC is because it is a very high lead quality channel in general. If somebody's going to Google and they're searching to find you, it's a different level of quality, right? Because there's outbound marketing and then there's inbound marketing. Outbound would be, you're texting, you're cold calling, whatever the case is. And then there's everything in between, right? So like as you move more inbound from that stuff, you might be talking about like direct mail, for example, where you send them a postcard. So you still initiated things, but then they decided they want to call you, right? And you're going to be dealing with a way better lead than if you did outbound. But then PPC, it's even more inbound, right? It's not like you went to them first. They actually were looking specifically for a company like yours, which means it's so much more likely that now is going to be the time that they're ready to sell. And it's so much more likely that they're motivated. So that's what people love about PPC. But when you contrast it to organic search, which is the second channel we work on, PPC is kind of where you pay your way to get to the top. Organic is where you just earn your way to the top by doing the things that Google wants you to do, by being a credible, relevant, authoritative company. That's how you basically get those rankings. So what people love about PPC is it's a lot faster of a game. You can invest money and you can be up near the top of Google tomorrow. And with organic search, it's kind of the slow roll that people spend years investing in organic search to get better and better rankings. But when you get it, it's like you own that real estate. It's not like you're renting and you have to pay each time. You can get as many clicks as you could possibly get, and Google's not going to charge you anything. They don't charge you anything for the whole deal. You just got to do the right stuff, which of course, any level of effort takes money because you either got to do it yourself or you got to hire someone to do it.
Hire someone that knows how to do it.
Yeah. But they're kind of two sides of the same coin, right? You have this fact that it's like some motivated sellers, they're going to find the company that they sell their houses to online, and they're going to do that through a Google search. And they could find a company because they paid to be there, or they could find a company that's organically there. But either way, there's people who are selling their houses to those companies. And what we do is we get our clients there so that they could be the ones that get those leads.
Okay, that makes sense. So to shift gears to the organic search, what are some of the like bullet point things that someone would have to do to actually get their site, their website, their search result to show up towards the top or the very top, the first page? Like, how do you actually do that? What are the bullet point things that someone would have to do, whether they did it themselves or hired someone, in order to actually show up top results?
Yeah, great question. If you look at any SEO plan, usually it includes just a ton of bullet points of like these, it's just all these little things, right? But you can kind of put them into a few buckets. The first one is going to be technical optimization. And for a lot of people, they think this is all that exists to SEO. Like, for example, if you get a Carrot website, Carrot's going to say we're good at SEO. What they mean is their websites are technically optimized, which is like a foundational piece. But if you just did that, then you wouldn't rank, right? But if you like, it's things like making sure your website is crawlable by Google's bots, so they can actually find you and they can index you in their search engines.
How do you make it crawlable? How does one make a crawlable site?
There's a lot of pieces to it, but like one example would be having a sitemap. That's kind of like a place where you communicate to Google. Here's all the different pages that exist on my website. So you can make sure that Google actually finds all of them and understands how they interact with each other. It's things like making sure your page actually loads fast enough that people will get to the point that your page loads, like that kind of stuff, right? It's technical optimizations. And what that does, it makes it so that you are eligible to rank in Google. But still, if someone were to search your keywords, you would rank somewhere, but you might rank on page number 100 because there's a lot of companies that have technical SEO, right? So you have to do something else. Like, what makes it so that you're going to show up on top of these 1,000 other companies that technically have their websites optimized? And then there's two camps that those things fall into. The first one is on page. So this is like the content that you get on your page and how you structure that. And all of that kind of stuff, like what's in your header tag, et cetera. So it's like putting the right keywords in your content, having long content, all that stuff is stuff that Google likes. Stuff we'll do for our clients on an ongoing basis is like posting new blog posts so that Google knows that you're continuing to put out content that's relevant to what people are searching. And then the last piece is off-page SEO, which has a huge impact. And it is probably the most pronounced piece of off-page SEO is something called backlinking. And backlinking, let's just say you have a website, Dean, and I have a website. And on your website, you put a link to my website. I have a backlink from you, right? So it's hard because you can't just do it to your own website. I can't just go on my website and make backlinks for myself, right? It has to be that you do that for me, which makes it hard. But Google counts that as an authority signal. Google says, well, Dean must have some reason to link to this other website. It counts that as kind of a vote from you to us saying we are worth linking to in some way or another. We must have had something relevant or authoritative on our website that was a resource that you wanted to put on yours. And basically, the more of those you have and the higher quality they are, and quality meaning like, for example, the websites that they come from. If your website is one that's really popular with Google and Google considers it to be really authoritative and you link to mine, then that gives me a lot of authority in Google's eyes. But if you're not actually that popular in Google's eyes and you link to me, then it's not like it's going to hurt me, but it's not good. So it's kind of finding links from other websites to yours. And there's a lot of different ways to do that, but a lot of people have tried to like game Google's system with all these types of like spammy ways to do that. Like you can go on Fiverr right now and buy like 30,000 backlinks for $20, right? But it's just junk because people like create their own content networks that are just made for SEO. And, so there's like right ways and wrong ways to do it to where people
that'll
really
actually
believes
hurt
it
your
and it looks credible.
SEO, right?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Crazy.
If you have a lot of bad links, it can hurt your SEO because it looks like you're trying to trick Google's system into thinking that you're relevant. So anyways, there's like a lot of nuance to that, but that's probably the biggest single thing in off-page SEO is generating backlinks that are quality, and from the standpoint of the websites that link to you are quality, and then also the whole way that the link is generated and the context and everything like that, not looking like you just paid for the link or something like that.
Okay, so there's a lot to unpack there. So we talked about PPC, paying per click to have your ads show up in Google towards the top saying, I buy houses, here's my website, click on it, and you can fill out your information and talk about selling your house. The other one is organic SEO, search engine optimization. And you had a lot to unpack there. A couple things I wanted to highlight and just find out more about it is you said the sitemap. That's basically telling Google, here's this page, here's that page, here's its relevance, here's what it is. What does that even look like? Like, how does someone access a sitemap? Is that like, behind WordPress and there's like a sitemap, button you click and then you tell Google what all the different things are? Or is that like some other third-party software that ties to your website that then tells Google what's going on? Like, what the heck is a sitemap and how would one access it?
Yeah, good question. And this is actually like, there's people you could talk to on my team that are way better at answering this question than I am. As I understand it, it's a file that's on your domain that can be downloaded. That is basically like a text file that shows Google what the map of the site is. If you work with like, let's just say you have a Carrot website, for example, that's automatically generated, right? I think in WordPress sites, some element it's automatically generated. Although there's different, just because you have 400 pages on your website doesn't mean you want Google to know about all 400 of those, because it dilutes how much weight they put on different ones. So there's different strategies here, even with like telling Google which pages you want them to index in search results and which ones you don't want them to index in search results and all that sort of stuff. So that's like, it's one of the most foundational pieces of technical SEO, but just like as an example, sitemaps do exist. And I think a lot of ways that people could build websites, they might have them without even knowing they have them, but they could still need further optimization even beyond that.
Got it. So for instance, I have my own personal website, deanrogers.com. It's on a WordPress site. You're saying on each of the pages, I could tell Google, index this one, don't index that one. Right. And I could kind of like hide some of that stuff. Okay. Got it.
You could. Yeah. Because if you have a bunch of pages that compete with each other, it's not great for your rankings. So you have to make it as easy for Google as you can, because you just want to make it really simple for them to understand what pages are the most relevant here. And then you have a better likelihood of getting good rankings on those pages versus if you had way too many pages that are all really similar to each other.
Got it. Yeah, okay. That makes sense. Okay, so you talked about loading speed. I know this is super important, especially if you're doing PPC. People typically will have what's called a landing page, so that it's specific just for that ad. Person clicks on it and it goes to like a one single website page, and it's lightning fast on how fast it loads. How does someone make their page load fast? What's the secret ninja sauce for that?
Yeah, it's a good question. So it's going to be different for SEO than it is for PPC. The process that you just described is really common with PPC. Like you have a dedicated landing page for it. It's what's called a squeeze page or a single action landing page, where there's not like a bunch of links to all these other things on it. It's just kind of, you're either going to fill out the form or you're going to leave. There's not much else to do. So for PPC, that's the best practice, and you can make those pages really, really fast. For SEO, you need a little bit more robust of a page, so you can't have it be quite as fast. But in both circumstances, you're going to, it's things like, if anybody wants to do this exercise for yourself, try going to a tool. You could just Google Page Speed Insights. It's a tool created by Google, and you can put your URL in there. and it will tell you specifically what is slowing down your website and what you could do to potentially fix it. Oftentimes you'll find things in there like there's a unused JavaScript that's loading. Maybe you have images that are on your website as five megapixels when they can only be displayed at a much smaller resolution, for example. So that you have to load this whole big picture in order to just show the smaller picture. It could be things like the order that things load in. Like, are you loading the whole bottom of your page so you have to scroll 5 pages down to see at the same time that you're loading the very top? Why not load the top so someone gets everything they need and then load the rest after that? So that's something called lazy loading, like kind of determining what loads in what order, and through that making it look faster. There's a ton of potential things there, but it's something that we'll do for our clients when we're doing an SEO strategies. We'll analyze their site and look to improve the page speed as much as we can. Main websites, like I said, they don't get as fast as you can get a landing page. And there's always some trade-offs because, for example, if you want to have like videos on your landing page, it lowers your load time, but also they help conversion, right? So there's some trade-offs there. It's not like page speed is the only thing that matters, but that tool will give you a good idea. And then you can also there's developers that specialize just in page speed improvement that know all of these different tricks to help get your page speed up, and you can hire them to help you with that.
Okay. So this is interesting. I just put in my company's page right now. I typed in Google Page Insights. Is that the right thing? Google Page Insights.
It's called Page Speed Insights, but you might have found the same thing.
That was the top search result. It was pagespeed.web.dev. But it's
that's it.
Page Speed Insights. So I typed in my active flipping company, homehelpersgroup.com. And on the desktop, I rank a 90 performance. Okay. It says performance 90, accessibility 94, best practices 92, SEO 100. Hey, look, my SEO is working pretty good. I click on the mobile tab. This is interesting. The performance is actually a 48. The accessibility 95, best practices 92, SEO 100. So the performance, which I'm assuming mobile speed of loading, is not loading as well. Now, like you said, I have it's a much more robust page. I have, lots of images and lots of text and all this kind of stuff. But that's really interesting. Makes me think, what can I do to speed it up? So that's, I'll be asking you questions about that later, but, this is really helpful too. I appreciate you sharing that. So guys, if you're looking to find out more about your website, how fast it's going, how it's performing, go to, Google Page Insights and you'll see the Page Speed Insights, the very top result. So I like that. Now blog posts.
That's very typical.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry to interrupt you. I was just going to say it's very typical for mobile page speeds to definitely be harder to accomplish than desktop. So that's where mobile's almost always going to be lower. So it's a fun game of trying to see how far you can push it with certain platforms. But anyways, pretty much anybody that looks at it, you're probably going to find that your desktop is pretty good, and then mobile's pretty bad in comparison to desktop. And depending on what your site's hosted on, sometimes you can do more about it, sometimes you can do less. Like for example, Carrot, pushing the mobile speed high on Carrot, you can only do so much. But with WordPress, you have a little bit more flexibility, right? But Carrot has other great features, so there's some trade-offs with that, even though it's great on desktop.
Yeah, interesting. Okay, cool. So next thing is blog posts. You talked about the importance of blog posts. I'm assuming that's just like, how do I create relevance? How do I get people that are finding content that's useful for them? Tell me more about blog posts. What's that all about?
Yes, it is interesting in this industry, honestly, because for a lot of SEO, blog posts are how you get a lot of your traffic. Some of our clients that do the best in SEO, however, they don't actually get that many traffic from their blog posts specifically. So we can post a blog and sometimes not that many people see it. However, when you do that consistent posting of content around your target keywords, it shows Google that your website is more relevant to those keywords as a whole. And posting a blog could help your homepage, for example, to rank better. So that's where in a lot of industries you find the blog post ranks. The problem with this industry is that tends to be only on a national basis. So let's just say you're a national lead aggregator, then that's a great strategy. But if you're more in a local market, the blog posts are mostly to show like an increasing size of your website with new relevant content, which is kind of what authoritative companies tend to do. Therefore, Google will favor you over somebody who doesn't do that.
Gotcha. Okay. So we talked about the on-page SEO, which we kind of covered most of that, and then the off-page, the backlinks. How do you find backlinks? First of all, do you have a website someone can go to see like what type of backlinks they have already?
Yes, there are a few tools for that. I'm trying to think of free tools, and I think that there are some that exist, although we don't use any free tools. So the ones that we use are, or the one we use the most is SEMrush, SEMrush.com.
Okay.
It's a little pricey, but you could also look up some free backlinking tools, and you'll find some as well.
There's a free one I know about. It's Ahrefs, which is I think an acronym, or otherwise just not a easy to say word.
Is it Ahrefs? Ahrefs?
Well, you would know better than me. That's what it is.
Okay, yeah. That's what it is. Okay, yeah, it's Ahrefs, which is a technical SEO term because it's part of like the technical on-site optimization. So it's but Ahrefs, I think they have a free and a paid.
If you just go to
version.
Google and you type in Ahrefs, which I've been saying wrong all this time, Ahrefs is what I've been saying. Ahrefs,
it's not intuitive.
No, it's not. Ahrefs. Go into Google, Ahrefs. And then you can enter in your domain name, see what type of backlinks you have, and do it that free way. Mm-hmm. So that could be cool.
Yeah, so you can see it, and there's going to be different types of backlinks that companies have, because tons of backlinks, like if you do an analysis like that, you'll see tons probably, because just existing on the internet, you're going to start getting backlinks from random places, but they tend to not be super high quality, but they wouldn't damage you either, right? It's just normal to get a certain amount of backlinking. But quality backlinks are kind of harder to get. They don't just happen by nature, especially in this industry. You have to remember, why does Google want to optimize for this? It's because it assumes that it means that you're authoritative. So it's looking for, like, Dean Rogers in California just has such great content in his website that all these authoritative websites just tend to link to him because he's such a great resource, which if for a company that buys houses for cash is just generally not true. So you kind of have to do your own, backlinking. So to kind of skip some of the fluff and just tell you exactly how we do it, it's sort of like a sales process. So you have to provide something to somebody else in order for them to want to backlink to you. But you can't pay them. That's against Google's policies. So what we do is we will identify websites that we want to get backlinks from. And we have two criteria generally. First, they have to be authoritative. So we have to see that they have a good backlinking profile, and therefore they have a lot of authority in Google's eyes. And then second, they have to be relevant, at least tangentially to our industry. This can't be some website that has absolutely nothing to do with real estate, because that doesn't look natural to Google. We want this to look like something that happens naturally. So if we do find that, then what we do is we try to think, what would be the piece of content that these people would want? And we write that content for them. And then we email them, kind of pitching them that content, saying, hey, we wrote this content. We're hoping to be able to post it on your website. And for them, it's free content. However, in that content is a link to your website. Therefore, you're getting a backlink from it. So hopefully they say yes, and then you get them to publish it, and then you have your backlink, and then you link it to maybe a blog post on your website that's about that topic. And then all your blog posts link to different places on your website, kind of building that authority towards your homepage, where all the authority eventually flows, which then ranks really well. So that's kind of the underlying strategy. It's just that sales process of finding the websites you want backlinks from, and then figuring out how you can add value to them without paying them.
Got it. Okay. So yeah, I mean, you think about it, the big companies out there, or just big online websites, entrepreneur.com or whatever it is, like if you're being linked on their website, that's going to help with your authority. So got it. Okay.
Yeah, anything you can do. And it can't just be those either, because Google expects like a natural profile. So it's normal that you have some that are really high quality, and you have some that are okay, and you have some that are like not quite as good. It's just a natural profile that you should have. If you just get all the best backlinks in the world, but that's it, then Google wouldn't like that either. So you need kind of like a natural profile is what we go for.
Gotcha. Okay. Cool. So what's the third strategy? So you mentioned the first two, PPC, pay-per-click, organic SEO. What's the third kind of strategy that you go for?
The third is paid social advertising. So what the channel that we specifically use the most for this is going to be Facebook. So it's paid advertising on Facebook. The organic side of Facebook, specifically for motivated sellers, is not super effective. So that's where we just focus on paid, not the organic side on social. But this is basically targeting motivated sellers that are on Facebook with ads and having them request a cash offer through your landing page based on that advertising. Compared to the other strategies, it produces a lower quality lead because these people aren't actively looking for you, but it is still an inbound lead. Right? You show an ad to them, and then they decide that they want to opt in, and they raise their hand saying they want you to contact them. So it is an okay lead quality. And it tends to be a significantly cheaper lead cost compared to Google, which is kind of where it fits in the mix of things.
Got it. Okay. So for somebody listening to this, how would you suggest someone goes about it? Like, what kind of a budget do they need to have? What's the best strategy to start with? After listening to this, I'm excited. Like, I want high quality leads. I want them fast. Like, how do I get started?
Yeah, that's a great question. As you can imagine, there's a whole bunch of different ways that you could go about it, and no one of those is right. Like, take a marketing channel that you know a lot about. Let's just say it's direct mail. I don't know what your main marketing channels are. If somebody asks you though, like, what budget do I need for direct mail? It's kind of hard to answer, right? Because there's not an exact right question. You've probably seen high volume campaigns that do great, as well as lower volume, more niche campaigns that do well. The biggest thing I think to figure out first is what can you dedicate to the project. And I'd say every new digital marketing project for paid ads specifically, so this is going to be your Facebook ads and your Google PPC, it needs at least 6 months to grow for you to get an additional sample size and understand how things are going. So you kind of have to think, like, if you're thinking about 10 grand a month, multiply that 10 by 6. And if 60 grand is something that you can stomach, then that's a budget that could probably work for you. If 10 looks okay, but 60 looks like you're going to go bankrupt, then 10 grand a month is too big of a budget, right? So first, sustainability is what we preach, like, above anything else, because you don't want your budget to run out before your results come around the way that you want them to. After that, the more budget you have, the better you will do. It's and the more channels you can go. Like, usually we recommend if somebody has less than $4,000 a month for ad spend, we'll just focus on a single channel, like just Google or just Facebook, based on what we know about their market and what we know about their business and what we think is most likely to work. But if our clients have more than $4,000 in spend, we'll often recommend that they start with both Facebook and Google, which work really well together. It just takes a little bit more budget to do both of them, as you can imagine. So I'd say you want more channel diversification and you want more time, and that's a great way to look at it. I generally think that it's not worth it if you have less than $3,000 a month all in, like between your management fees and your ad spend and everything. Sometimes people come to us wanting to spend $1,500 a month on PPC or something like that, like including management fees and everything. And it's one of those channels that's just a little bit harder to make with that small budget, because you have to do it right, and doing it right requires hiring good talent or an agency for it. And that's, any good company is not going to do it for crazy cheap. And you can't have all of your budget going just to the management of the thing without any budget to actually put towards the platform. So anyways, that's generally like my advice: be at least $3,000 all in. If you have enough to spread across multiple channels, that's great, but you have to be in a position to give it 6 months. Or on the SEO side, ideally 12 months or more, because that's a longer channel from a ramp up standpoint.
Okay. Yeah. So it takes some time. And why does it take time?
Well, so SEO is super easy to answer that question, because, like, how do you prove that you're an authoritative company? Is that over time you just tend to do the same stuff consistently. So that's where SEO, as you can imagine, naturally Google wants to prioritize those companies that are doing things consistently over time over those that just did it for a brief stint because that's not what reputable companies do. And Google really just wants to send people the place that they'll be best taken care of. And they have to kind of guess that. So SEO, it's very natural. On the paid ads, it's a great question because you can get leads immediately on paid ads. However, you're going to want some time to try a strategy and then see the data come in and then analyze that data and shift your strategy and then do that same thing over and over again. That's kind of how you dial in something. So it's kind of like saying how long it takes for paid ads to work is kind of like saying how long it takes to get pregnant, for example. Like it could happen right away, right? It could take 6 months, but if you see someone wanting to have a baby and they're officially going to give it 1 month to try to get pregnant, like that's like, it's not like it won't work, but it's not a great strategy. You want to be a lot more diversified and you want something that has the greatest likelihood of potentially working. So that's where like, there's so many different ways to run paid ads and so much data to collect and analyze. You kind of have to like try something, pivot, try something else, pivot. In the longer runway you can give yourself, the more time you can do that. And actually give yourself enough time to gather a significant amount of data in between those pivots so you can truly understand how well it's working.
You got me really excited with that analogy, how long it takes to get pregnant. I'll spare you all the details, but it took my wife and I a year and a half to get pregnant trying on our first. And now we hold hands and a baby just shows up the next day, so it's pretty funny.
It's like that. And sometimes people think like, oh no, something's wrong because it's taking longer for me. Or I must be really good at this because we got pregnant super fast, right? But it's somewhat random, right? Yeah. There's a lot of factors involved. So the best thing that you can do is give yourself the best chance for success. And that's always going to come through being very consistent and data driven. And you just can't do that extremely fast.
That's good advice. So I think from my own personal experience, and I think you'd probably echo the same, is I really like your advice. Create the runway, like at least be able to commit a budget for 6 months because it could happen really fast. It might take some time as things adjust and you're tweaking things and getting it more dialed in, taking some time for some of those leads to come through. And naturally there might be some follow-up that's involved for the deal to come through. And then you're like, wow, this $50,000 deal was definitely worth it. I'm glad I waited, and was patient. So I think that's good. And then also the aspect of, like there's the different strategies that you have. So you got to find what you have the budget for and look at that as well. So that all makes sense. All right. Well, again, dude, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on. People can find you at Brandon Bateman Photo. You can also go to Bateman Collective, your other Instagram account you just started. Can people find you online too, your agency?
Yeah, BatemanCollective.com, or just Google us. You'll find us. If you like this content and you want to hear more things similar to it, we go really deep into the weeds in our own podcast. It's called Collective Clicks.
Nice.
If you want a little bit more high level, like maybe learn about lead management strategies working for our clients, like that type of thing, you can search my name on YouTube. You'll find a bunch of podcasts there where I dive into all of that kind of stuff. Whatever you're looking for, you'll find it somewhere.
Awesome. Yeah, guys, if you're listening to this and you're excited about pay-per-click or organic SEO or Facebook ads or the combination of them all together, make sure to reach out to Brandon, check him out. We use you guys for all of our stuff, and we've been having great results. So definitely wanted to get you on and talk about all the nerdy stuff that I get excited about too. So been a pleasure to have you on, man. Any last words that you wanted to share?
Nope, just grateful that you had me on, and I'll look forward to seeing anybody who wants to reach out.
Awesome. Sounds good, man. All right, everybody. Till next time. Peace.